Thanks always to Laura, herder of cats, for this morning, Tuesday, March 14th. You have joined Public Health and Safety. Indeed, you are in the right place. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I see my counterparts, Angela Jefferson and Peter Agabe. Thank you for joining us as always. That accomplishes our roll call, and we're already on number 3. Look at that. Chief Wicks and John Dunn, do we have any changes to the agenda or any additions?
We do not. We are just looking for our presenter for the first item. So we would suggest we maybe move to the second item, and we'll see what we can do to find him.
Noted. Thank you so much. Great practice practicing flexibility. So we're going to go to item number 3, which is approval of our minutes from our Public Health and Safety Committee meeting on February 14th. Some might know as Valentine's Day. We do not. Any changes or additions or edits to those meeting minutes, Angela and Peter? And if not, I would welcome a motion.
None. I move to approve the minutes.
I will second because it looks like Peter is frozen and now he's left us. So I'm assuming he's going to join us again. So with that, are there any comments? Angela, you ready to vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're gonna go to item number 5 now instead of 4. And we're gonna talk about Tumwater Hopes and get an update. Is this John doing? Who do we have?
My name is Georgia Ost. I am the coalition coordinator for Tumwater Hopes. I am joined here by Keitha and Bo, 2 members of our wonderful leadership team. And so I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves real quick, and we'll give you all an update on what we've been up to, what we're doing in the community, and also just want to give a big thanks to everybody for inviting us here today to share what we're doing.
Thank you, Georgia and Keitha and Bo. For being here so bright and early and fresh face.
I am Bo Wilson. I am a community liaison for the Tumwater School District and a volunteer member of the leadership for T-Hopes. Just a quick recap. Tumwater Hopes is a community coalition essentially designed to collaboratively prevent youth substance use in an inclusive and engaged community where every youth feels like they belong. We envision a community where all youth feel that they have a place here and are empowered to live healthy, substance-free lives. I think sometimes people confuse the purpose of a coalition, and the purpose of our coalition is to act as a third-party organization, essentially seeking ways to build bridges between youth and families and youth serving organizations in our community directly. We want to ensure that both youth and families have a knowledge of the multitude of resources and programs that are available to them here in Tumwater. We work directly with Big Brothers Big Sisters, Together, True North, FES, which is Family Education and Support Services, and WSU 4-H Youth Development Program, the ESD, and our local Tumwater School District. The goal of our coalition is to make sure that our community is providing enough protective measures that outweigh the risks that our youth face. Some of those risks arise from their personal home life, their sense of belonging here in the community, and their school life. And protective measures can look a lot like youth and family education, social and emotional resources, environmental strategies, such as advertising and our prescription drug takebacks that we do, as well as our attitudes and social norms of the community here in Tumwater. Hopefully everybody is familiar with the data from the community's Healthy Youth Survey, which we can also provide. But that survey highlighted that there's a lot of room for growth here in Tumwater when it comes to education surrounding the significant risks of daily alcohol, vaping, and marijuana use from our youth. The survey data also which is from 2021, highlights the correlation that mental health and emotional health can have when it comes to substance use amongst our youth. 43% of students reported feeling sad and hopeless every day for 2 weeks or more in a row. And the state average is actually 38%. So we were significantly higher than the state average. And youth here in Tumwater also sat 5% higher than statewide numbers, specifically when it came to 10th grade, when it came to students who had considered suicide in the past year. So Tumwater Hopes really believes that the more supported, equipped, informed, and empowered our youth feels when it comes to the realities of substance youth here in Tumwater, the more confident they'll feel when faced with the opportunities to choose not to engage in substance use.
Awesome. Thank you, Bo. Kiva, did you want to share some about our public policy work?
Yes, so I'm Keitha Bryson, and I'm a retired Highline School District teacher. I moved from King County to Thurston County the week before the governor called the statewide shutdown. But in the time that I've been here for 3 years, I'm still working with youth and the community. And League of Women Voters has been instrumental in getting our kids engaged, the students from B Club, engaged in policy. And the students have been trained with the Lacey City Youth Council. Who knew that Lacey had a youth council, right? But the Lacey City Youth Council is, they've been trained to pre-register other students for voting when they're 16 and 17, so that those kids automatically will get their first ballot when they turn the right age. And it's been fun. And then just recently, the chair of the Voter Services Committee, Susan Fixstall, called me, and there is an opportunity for our Tumwater students to join a YMCA civics training class coming up later in the month, and getting the kids off and rolling on how to work on policy and know how policy is passed, so that they are able to participate in government, even if they aren't able to vote yet because they're not quite old enough. So, and I know that the Rotary in Olympia has also done the same thing with students who are foreign exchange students. And those are things that we can work on with the Rotary to get the kids to do more about knowing what policy is. And there are several bills that they've been tracking that I'll go over later. Georgia?
All right, thank you so much, Keitha. We also wanted to share a little bit with y'all about our current initiatives, right? So Keitha talked about some of our public policy work. Bo talked about those risk and preventive factors. So, what does that look like, boots on the ground? What are we doing as an organization? And for just a little bit of background, we are a community prevention and wellness initiatives coalition. So that means that we get a pretty big grant from the state of Washington. Well, maybe not big compared to the numbers you guys are used to working with, but we get about 130 grand from the state of Washington every year to spend on evidence-based and a little bit on innovative prevention programs. So these are some of like the risk and protective measures that we're taking to help youth lead substance-free lives. So one of our biggest programs that we have is our mentoring program. So Bo mentioned that we partner with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so they have 2 mentoring programs going right now in Tumwater. So we have one over at Peter G. Schmidt Elementary and one at the Tumwater Boys and Girls Club. And so basically the research shows that when youth have a healthy older person in their lives, rooting for them, maybe helping them problem solve, and also just kind of providing that accountability. You get in trouble and you know that your mentor is coming on this day, you can't see them. That's kind of like another reason for a kid to want to, act right and do their best in school, right? The really cool thing about these programs too is that because they're on site and supervised by staff, it also provides a pro-social activity to Tumwater's high school students. So in this case, there's a lot of matches between high school students and elementary school age kids. So that not only provides the benefit to the younger kid, right, but also gives like a service opportunity to the high school kids. And again, kind of enforces this accountability thing where it's like they know that they have to be a good role model if they want to keep showing up for their little. So we have mentoring programs. We also have a program called Positive Action. And this is one that we partner with WSU Extension 4-H program. And so what it does is it provides first, third, and fifth grade students with an evidence-based program to strengthen their physical, intellectual, social, and emotional skills. Basically, the whole self is kind of the idea. And it's supplemented by 4-H's like wonderful experiential activities, you know, right? Those crafts, that farms kind of work that 4-H is known for. Positive Action develops the social, emotional, and character skills that youth need to put them into positive action, hence the name. It's based off of the social development model. And like I said, it's an evidence-based practice. It gives them recognition too for when they're doing well and when they're like meeting the goals. So that's really motivating. We also do a secure drug take back campaign. So this is it starts with one campaign as kind of the media component of it. And then twice a year, we might be scaling back this year to once a year just because people in Tumwater can drop off their drugs at any time, their unused prescription medications at any time at the police department. But in our fall drive, in partnership with the city, we are collecting tons and tons of drugs. Tons and tons of prescription meds, getting those out of the community, safely stored away and incinerated and disposed of, which is, you know, decreasing the availability and helping us create a healthier Tumwater for everyone. Finally, so Keitha mentioned V Club. That stands for Thirst and Hope for Everyone, Everywhere. And so that's our youth coalition. And that is also done in partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters. So the goal of V Club is to educate Tumwater High School students on prevention science, provide them opportunities for community service, and elevate their voices. So for us, we really want to have youth input into the coalition. You know, nothing about us without us, right, is kind of the motto here. So that is one of the key functions of V Club, is to be our youth voice in the coalition. And furthermore, that youth voice is really important, not only because we need the buy-in from the youth in order to make the gains that we're looking for, but also because they're on the ground experts. You know, they can tell you what's going on in the schools, and they're really valuable for that. We also have a initiative going on right now where we are providing and identifying where it's needed these, got one right here. This is the Spanish version. So these are the signs that you'll see posted up in front of almost every school, although not every one in Tumwater School District, I found out. Soon they will be. These are the signs that tell everybody entering, you know, that this is a place where we don't use drugs, we don't use tobacco, we don't use e-cigarettes and vapor, we don't have firearms. So we recently are really close now to finishing a project where we went to all the schools in the district. We poked our head around and said, okay, we use an extra sign here, here. Typically, all the schools have one of those at the main entrance. We want to make sure that there's one at like every entrance so that everybody coming into the school knows that this is the kind of place that we're entering. You don't do those kind of things here. And Keith and I actually recently had a real like success story with that initiative where we visited the Newmarket campus, and they didn't just want a few more signs, they wanted a lot more signs, including in every single bathroom, because that's a problem that they're having with students vaping. So we're really happy to partner with the school district on projects like that can, you know, raise awareness, make sure that everybody knows what the expectation is. And then finally, we are always doing coalition and community member training, right? So the goal is we sometimes send community or coalition members to conferences to learn about prevention science, community organizing, so that we can be more effective. We're also looking at bringing in, you know, speakers and trainers so that we can provide training to the general public, make sure that parents know about prevention science, the true risks of youth using substances. because that was actually one thing that came up in our recent community survey, was a low awareness of adults in our community around the risks of youth regularly using cannabis. So an alarmingly low number of adults in our community thought that's not really a big deal if a high school student uses weed every week. And we know from the science that actually that is a really big deal. That can really affect their developing brains. So we want to get the word out about this stuff. We want to make sure that everybody knows about this, knows what their role is in prevention as we, together as a community raise healthy youth and create a healthy community for everyone. Keitha, did you have anything else you wanted to add about bills for the public policy work?
Yes, at Newmarket, it was really interesting because they had a list of resources for parents posted right at the door, so that if they were struggling with anything, food, insecurity, any of those things, and they gave how to contact people and get what you need. And it was a really good list. We actually took a picture of it because we thought we need to recreate that for other school areas. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Bo, unless you had anything else to add, that's all what we've got for our update. Were there any questions?
That was a great update. And I know that Angela Jefferson represents Tumwater on Tumwater Hope. So I'm pretty sure she has something to say. So we'll start with Angela, then we'll go to Peter, and then I have some questions.
So before Angela unmutes, I have named myself Tumwater Hope's co-chair. The other co-chair is about to talk.
Thank you, Keitha.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Great briefing. We're doing a lot of things in the community, and what I like is the passion. We have, as you can see from Bo and Keitha, we have some passionate people who really, really want to see this program move forward. It was started before I came on council, but we're invigorated, and we're looking to build. We're looking for recruiting. So focusing now, moving ahead, is to just build it, to let everyone know, come to this big tent, help us out with the kids. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you for serving, along with Councilmember Charlie Schneider. Don't want to forget Charlie. Peter Agabi, do you have any questions regarding Tumwater Hopes? I know that you have kiddos in the school system.
My question is to Georgia. She has said that there were marijuana usage by high school students. So I'm wondering, at what age are you able to buy marijuana in Washington? And if they are buying them underage, how are they getting it? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Peter. So the legal age to buy cannabis in Washington is 21, right? So that excludes pretty much any youth. And so we actually, this is one of the questions on the Healthy Youth Survey. So one of the most common places that youth get cannabis from is from a friend, which begs the question, where does their friend get it, right? So some of the other most common places people get it is they're stealing their parents' stash, or their parent is providing it with them knowingly. Sometimes it's an older sibling who is providing that, and sometimes it's another adult. But I think that really underscores that question, and that issue really underscores the importance of prevention as a community effort, right? A lot of people in my community, don't necessarily have kids. And so it's like, well, what does this have to do with me? And it's like, well, the norms that we put out there to the whole community really have an effect, right? So making sure that it's very clear norm in our community that people under 21 do not use substances. We do not provide substances to people under 21. That is really key. And that's a big part of the education piece. Thank you for your question, Peter.
Can I add, when it comes to vaping, we learned at our last meeting that the principal noted that sometimes the kids get the last couple of puffs before going into school from the parents. So there's, they're sharing products like that. So this is why we want to reach out to community members and parents to let them know.
That's great. Thank you both. So that is a great transition to one of my questions regarding the THEE, is it THEE Club? So many acronyms, right? That, and then Keith talking about the policy recommendations. I think in some past updates, when Tumwater Hopes came to public health and safety, we talked about that collaboration piece. What could the city of Tumwater do, right? With our role in council, right? Which is like policy making decisions, right? And not intruding on the lane of school district, right? And respecting those individual roles. And I was wondering if there's an opportunity to continue a discussion looking at when you're talking about signage and then comparing that to Tumwater's municipal code of signage. And if there could be a recommendation, like that would be really cool. When we have, I know like during this ledge session, we have different youth groups proposing legislation. And what would that look like if our Tumwater youth propose some updates to our sign ordinance? It's not on our long range plan right now for 2023, but we're going to circle back. We circle back to everything. So could there be an opportunity to have some recommendations from the THEE Club or the Youth Council of what they would like to see? So that was one of my thoughts. And then I know in our budget, we have a 2-year budget. We have it as a goal to look at the idea of a youth council, like Keitha mentioned with the city of Lacey, right? Because we have the Tumwater Youth Program, we have Tumwater Hopes, we have the Parks and Rec and all this engagement with youth, but what would that look like for a youth council in Tumwater? So I'm wondering if Tumwater Hopes could circle back to that and see if that would be realistic and what that could look like, and would that be of benefit? And that could be another way to collaborate with the city of Tumwater. So those are the two things that I was thinking. Not really a question, but kind of a question. But so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. You don't have to answer right now if you don't want to.
I would love to see the kids create their own youth council, but the other thing that I didn't mention was that Margaret Shields, who is her own training group, is called Learning Circles, and every Tuesday from noon to 1 o'clock, because that's when employees have their lunchtime, so they get to sit and listen during that time. And what she does is training on what public policy is currently in the legislature right now about vaping and about drug use. And she trains that. And the public employees are not allowed to lobby and say, I'd like you to vote yes on this bill. But they are able to say, if I'm going to help this stop, what's the best way to do that? So it's not a, this is what I would do. And passing this bill would provide funding for creating a healthy environment for students. So those kinds of things. And Margaret does record her sessions, and I get them because I go to them pretty much every week, and I'll make sure that I send that to the council, and you can watch it at home with your jammies and your slippers and your cup of cocoa. So.
Thank you, Keitha. The one thing, noting our time, we have our next speaker. We'll start at around 8:30 for our next speaker. So we got 6 more minutes. The one question I also want to know is regarding representation and building. I'm wondering, could you give me and us, who are you looking for? Is there a type of skill set, a demographic? Who are you looking for to help strengthen Tumwater Hopes?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lita. So I would say, for one, we can always use more parents. We'd really like to see a lot more participation from parents. We'd like to see more participation from youth. Not that we don't have any, but again, that's another one that we can always use more. So one of the goals of like CPWI, the Community Prevention and Wellness Initiatives, the larger program that we're a part of, is that we have a broad diversity of representation across sectors of the community. So currently, we don't really have anybody representing like the business community. We currently don't have anybody really representing faith communities. We don't have a law enforcement representative like actively coming to meetings. I would say,
Georgia, that was one of my questions. apologies, finish your sentence.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I get so excited. In daylight savings time, I'm not adjusting well. Georgia, finish your sentence and then I'll follow up with my question.
So the last one that we're maybe a little lacking in is like recovery organizations or substance abuse organizations. We don't have anybody, representing like an AA group or anything like that. And that's a group of people that I would really love to see involved in our work, as well as people who work in healthcare. We did recently get a pediatrician, Maria Huang, and she's wonderful. So the people who have the skill, really the biggest skill that we're looking for, I would say, is a willingness to help and a passion for keeping our youth healthy and safe. That's probably the biggest skill set. The rest sorts itself out, I would say.
Thank you, Georgia. I was going to ask regarding school resource officers, and I was going to link the chief in, and I think I saw Commander Mason regarding law enforcement representation and what that looks like with your already challenging schedule and roles of your officers today.
Thank you. Yeah, our SROs are, I believe one of the SROs is assigned to work with Tumwater Hopes. But as you indicated, sometimes the demands in the schools don't free them up to attend the meetings. So, but we do have a SRO that is assigned to that coalition.
Thank you, Chief. And then I was wondering regarding business. I know Angela, Charlie's also, a member of Tumwater Hopes, and he attends the Tumwater Rotary meetings. I'm wondering if, I don't like to assign people work when they're not here, but maybe the group could circle back with Charlie regarding the Tumwater Chamber meetings. I think he's on the board of the Tumwater Chamber. It's not a Tumwater assignment, but he's on that. And he attends those meetings. So maybe it could be a way for Charlie to do that. I guess I'll message Charlie afterwards and said I was talking about him and telling him he should do something. Yeah, and then I think another great transition is TJ, who's speaking next regarding healthcare. And so I'm wondering when we hear from TJ, you're all welcome to stay and attend, because I think there's a great collaboration and overlap regarding what TJ is doing and Tumwater Hopes. Maybe TJ has some ideas of representation and his thoughts on that. Any other questions regarding Tumwater Hopes?
I just quickly wanted to add, when it comes to like a youth council, I think that Tumwater School District has had really successful instances where they have had youth voice and highlighted youth voice. They have specifically youth focused groups for different marginalized communities. They recently put together an equity student panel to speak to higher ups in our school district about the student experience. So I really truly, just being in schools, because that's primarily where I am, our youth is ready. They're having these really tough, difficult and vulnerable conversations about the community and their experiences, and they do want to get involved. So I just love the fact that you highlighted a youth council of some sort and moving in that direction, because it is something that Tumwater Hopes right now are, the club and Tumwater Hopes is kind of separate. They operate separately, but we're looking at involving our youth in our primary meetings because their voices are so important. And too often we have a lot of adults discussing, measures and instances pertaining to youth. And we do need their voices in the room. So I just love that you had mentioned that. And that seems like a direction you all are going in, because our youth is ready.
But I would love for that to continue and see how that collaboration and connection could strengthen between Hopes and T Club, and then circle back to the city of Tumwater and see what that could look like with the school district, right? I would love to see that. And the fact that the city of Tumwater has that in the budget as a goal to look at shows the direction, right? I always say that, a city's priority is looking at their budget, right? So the fact that that's in there, I think that just gives us a great opportunity to strengthen our relationship. So thank you for circling back to that, Bo. Anything else before we go to TJ, who's here? Seeing zero facial expressions, let's welcome TJ O'Reilly. And Tumwater Hopes peeps, you're welcome to stay. As I said before, I think there is an overlap and a way to partner. So TJ, hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I definitely think that there's some opportunity for collaboration with Tumwater Hopes, and you know, the hospital has been up and going now for three years here in Lacey, Washington. I actually live in Tumwater, so I think some of the folks on this call, as I see them, our kids go to school together. So that's interesting. It's a small little community, but South Sound Behavioral Hospital is 108 beds. We serve people as young as 13 years old. We help people with mental illness and substance use problems. We have an inpatient place where we detox people that are going through any type of detox situation, whether it be alcohol or opioids. Last year, for just fentanyl alone, we helped 577 different people detox off of fentanyl. So fentanyl is kind of the big problem that's plaguing our community right now. In addition to that, we've helped a lot of people with mental illness that are going through the things that they are going through, and we do that by using the principles of trauma-informed care, where every day we give the patients a workbook that's really focused on teaching them some sort of skill that hopefully they'll be able to use that in the moment of crisis, so that they use the skill instead of going into crisis. And that's really what our program focuses on at South Sound, is what skill could it be that could help that person go through their next crisis, so that they don't have to go back to the hospital or they don't choose to use drugs. And so we have, like I said, 108 beds. In addition to the 108 beds, we also have a PHP, which is a partial hospitalization program, where patients will go from the inpatient side down to the partial hospitalization program, where they will do 20 hours a week of group. The next level of care after that is our intensive outpatient clinic, where the patients will go and do group for 9 hours a week. And then we have just launched out into medication management, which is the step down for that, where patients will come and visit like once a month to how are you doing, checkup type thing. And we just actually launched that this week. So we have the full continuum of care at South Sound Behavioral Hospital now. We employ 350 people. We work closely with the fire department, the police department, the schools. Yeah. We're really trying to be as immersed into the community as possible to be able to support. And one of the things that we're doing is that we round St. Pete's Hospital and Capitol Hospital. Every day we go through the emergency departments to make sure that we're getting the psychiatric patients out of the emergency departments and into the psychiatric hospital, so that they're not clogging up the emergency departments and creating a situation for the nurses and the team in the emergency departments. I actually round St. Pete's myself on Mondays and Tuesdays. After this meeting, I'll go over there and check them out. So being a nurse, that's part of what we do. So that's kind of the rundown of South Sound Behavioral Hospital and what we're doing here in our community.
Thank you, TJ. Angela, Peter, do you have any questions? And I'd also like it to open up to the Tumwater Hopes peeps as well.
So,
Angela, go ahead.
So
Angela and then Peter.
Go ahead.
Yes. What is your capacity right now? Are you at 100% capacity? Or are you turning people away? Because I know that we're at max capacity basically at the hospital. So what are you looking like? Is that your struggle also?
Well, the last 2 months, we were at 94 of our 108 beds were full. So we also have block beds. So if you have a patient that is unsafe to have a roommate, then we'll block the bed. And unsafe is for different reasons. Sometimes it's hygiene issues. Sometimes it's actually I'm so delusional that I think that you're trying to hurt me, so I might hurt you. But so we average about 6 block beds a day across the hospital. But there is good news. We did a condition of need with the state of Washington that was approved for 30 more beds on the top floor. That they're all built out. We just need to make some modifications to the space to make sure that it's ligature resistant. And we will have 30 more beds up there that'll bring our capacity to 138. So, the plan would be then to, we run about 90-95% full. Is kind of been the trend. Now, sometimes it goes down and sometimes it goes up, but if you look at the overall average of it all, it's about 90%. So there's a little bit more space, but not much.
Yeah. there's a definite need. And thank you so much for what you do every day, TJ. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Angela. Peter, go ahead.
So TJ, I'm glad you're here this morning. I approved Southside Behavioral Hospital. So I'm glad you reminded me that it's been 13 years ago. Time does fly.
It does.
So the 30 beds, I approved those 30 beds about 2 years or a year before COVID. So that's what, 4 years ago. Why are they not set up yet?
We have 108 beds that are running. The 30 beds on the top floor, they were never licensed because at the time, actually, St. Pete's and UHS were going to build a hospital right by the Cabela's, and they went back and forth in court so that we wouldn't license those beds because of competition. But then they have dissolved that plan to build that hospital. So since that plan was dissolved, we went back through the process over the last, I'd say, a month. Kevin, gosh, I can't think of Kevin's last name right now. No, one of the deputies was helping. He works for the state hospital. As far as that, he works for the state hospital. We're trying to support the state hospital and some of those patients, competency and restoration patients. So he helped us get those beds online. They won't be online for a couple more months, but the condition of need just went through last week. So that's where we're at with all those projects.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, you had mentioned that you go to the hospitals to make sure that the ED departments are not being clogged up by mental health patients. Does that involve forensic psych patients?
No, not forensic psych patients. Now, if it depends on when their last, so the city of Lacey said that we can't take people that have current charges. So if they have past charges, then that's fine. But if they're currently going through criminal charges, that we wouldn't be able to serve them. That and sex offenders. So both of those types of patients we can't serve them at the hospital right now.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And just for the record, Peter, when you're talking about approving this, you're talking about your other job at Department of Health, not through City of Tumwater, correct? Correct.
I do have another job, my day job.
Thank you.
Day job.
So the Department of Health has been so great with us. They've really supported us, and they come through and check on us and make sure that we're following the rules, of which we do a great job when they come through. And it's nice to have a collaborative body that's all working together to make sure we're serving the right way. And having those 30 beds approved upstairs is definitely going to make a difference in our community, which there's a lot of need in the community. So it's gonna be good to have those up and going. We're working as hard as we can to get them online.
Yeah, my last comment is we would like to have those 30 beds set up because the need is great in Thurston County for mental health, and we don't. Besides Southside, we do have additional resources, but they don't have that many beds in their capacity.
Yeah, we're working hard to make it happen.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great questions, Peter. Thank you. Thank you for this job and your other job at Department of Health. Now, TJ, you had heard Tumwater Hopes talk about representation and expansion and building the Tumwater Hopes. Do you have any ideas of how maybe Southside Behavioral Hospital? I know there's only one of you and you're all over the place, right? But do you see an opportunity to find someone or any ideas to help strengthen Tumwater Hopes? I mean, not saying that has to be you, though you would be awesome on that group.
Yeah. So send me an email, and at the end of all of it, we'll work together to make sure that we're supporting you guys. Usually if I'm invited and I can go, I go. So, if it's not going to be me, I'll send one of my representatives. Usually it's a business development person or one of our clinicians that would go in my place. But we want to help everybody. I have a vested interest in that because I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old that are in this school system. So, as you're talking about, what you're talking about on this call is something that we're talking about at my house because, vaping and drug use, and all of that is something that we're navigating through here with our friend circles. And I think that as I was listening to Georgia talk, they were talking about parents and your views on marijuana. Marijuana's been legal out here for 10 years, so that's created a situation where people are probably using marijuana at a younger age. I remember when I was a kid, it was beer, and we could find beer. So these kids now are finding marijuana and beer. So, it's just something that I personally believe we need to really work on building kids' self-esteem. We really need to work on making sure that kids have someone to talk to, that they're learning those skills that we have in our program, which are the skills that keep all of us out of psych hospitals and normal, whatever normal is. But we all try our best to make sure that within our own minds and in our hearts, we have some sort of peace. And how do you find that? And those are the pieces that I really have delved my career into, is how do you collect some lessons for people to learn so that they can be better thems. And so, I would definitely be interested in being part of that and sharing what we're doing at South Sound across the whole community.
I feel like you're getting a twofer with TJ, right? Like TJ is healthcare and a parent. And I feel like you could tap into TJ regarding the conversations he's having with other parents as well. So I'm not saying TJ's joining, but I really feel like he's going to join. So it's on the record now. TJ's joining Hopes. Tomorrow.
Man, I'm on the record.
I think that's awesome. Georgia, Bo, do you have any comments, questions? Fill the space. You got time.
I just wanted to say that, yes, as I'm hearing you talk, TJ, I would really love to connect and talk about how we can support each other. I'm curious about, what kind of services y'all provide to youth. I'm thinking about like affected others and programs that we have through our partners with ESD, and connecting youth who are affected others with resources. I think there's a ton of potential there. I did, while you were talking, look up, try to find your email, and I couldn't find it. So if there's a way that we could connect, if you want to offer it here or off air, either way, but I would love to connect.
If Lita wouldn't mind sending my email out, I would be grateful. I'm actually at the house today, so I'd have to run it through my phone, and I'm not an IT person. I'm just a humble nurse. So as far as kids services go, we have an inpatient unit, and on that unit there's 13 beds, and we serve everybody that we possibly can in that space. And then we do have an IOP, so that's 9 to 15 hours a week of groups that kids can go to and learn skills, and that's really what it's about, in my opinion. Like, I'm a nurse, so medications are amazing, right? They do a lot of good things, but I'm also a human being that understands that it's the skills that I've learned along the way that have truly helped me more than medications do. It's because in the moment of I'm taking my medications, but I'm almost to a crisis moment. In that crisis moment, if I choose a skill right in that moment, that usually can help me get through it. And that's truly where the magic is in our human condition, is what are the skills that you have learned along the way from either your parents, your friends, all those support people and mentors, coaches that can help you be a better you. And that's what I've learned to be true for my own self and for the people that I've surrounded myself with. And we're just preaching that message at the hospital. Everybody's talking about it, and that's the great work that we're doing there. And I'm just proud to be part of it and be a leader like that. And anything we could do to help support the schools, we've really tried to be out in the schools, and we've been trying to figure out a way to do IOP within the school setting. So that might be something that we can all collaborate on, and we're getting closer to that. I know we've been working with the high schools on that. So, these are kind of some things that we're going towards, and I look forward to just making more traction there.
And while you two were listening, I was listening. And Georgia, I just sent you TJ's email. So I prefer not to have to-dos after this meeting. That's why I just sent it to you. Is there anything else from anyone else? We don't have to go directly tonight because I do have a 9 o'clock meeting. But I see Chief Wicks on camera, and I always like to just check in with the chief and see if he has any thoughts of representation, or when you do your police academy, can you ever give a plug to like Tumwater Hopes to try and recruit?
Well, I'm not really sure how that would work, something to consider, but I would, just like to take this opportunity to thank TJ and his organization. Handful of months ago, we had a situation where our officers were dealing with a juvenile who was in clear mental health crisis. And we were just hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. And our officer reached out to South Sound Behavioral Hospital. And they said, this really isn't where we're at, but you know what? We're going to help. And they helped our officer and that family. So it's a great resource in the community. And I look forward to seeing what else they're able to do. So they helped us when we really needed it, and that family really needed it. So.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out too, Chief. Make sure that your officers know that we're there to support them. And I can't guarantee that we're going to get it right every single time, but we're trying really hard to. So, thank you for all your service to our community as well.
Thank you.
Anything else? I know that we have some fire on the call. I don't know if Chief Hurley or Sean Crimmins have any examples of fire connecting with South Sound Behavioral Health. You don't have to, but I'm willing to give you the space. So if you stay off screen and muted, that means no. Oh, I see Chief Hurley.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have any great info to add to the conversation right now. Certainly, we're pretty much every day interacting with folks on behavioral health related issues, and welcome any opportunity to help us in those efforts.
Yeah, we work closely with the fire department in Lacey because that's where our hospital is located. So, they respond when we need them on the 911 situations, and we collaborate very closely with them. Thank you
Chief Hurley.
Chief.
I'm seeing no facial expressions. So I think our time has come to a close. TJ, thank you. Tumwater Hopes. I think this was meant to be that you two were on the agenda today. So I got goosebumps. I think there's some great things that are going to happen. I look forward to circling back. I know that Tumwater Hopes is scheduled, I think, quarterly to have this discussion. So I look forward to the next. And as always, if you have any questions, if you need anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out to the city. Us, Georgia, now you have my email, but we have John Doan, we have Hannah, we have amazing staff. So don't ever hesitate to reach out if you have questions or comments or ideas. TJ, a pleasure. I met TJ at Thurston Thrives last year and did a site visit of his facility in December. And it was eye-opening, which led for like, hey, you should come to Tumwater and just chat about what you're seeing. And I just feel like this is a goosebump moment of partnership. So thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, I would love to end this meeting at 8:49. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Safe travel.
Thanks, everybody.